What's up? My name is Jay, and today is special because I'm going to interview the amazing Travis Neilson. If you don't know who he is, he's a designer, he's a developer, he's a speaker, a musician, podcaster, YouTuber, and the list goes on and on. He started multiple YouTube channels and he's the founder of DevTips, one of the most successful design and coding channels on YouTube. He currently works for Google, and I'm telling you, I have some cool questions for him. And if you're a creator, I don't know, you can be a designer, a developer, a painter, anything, you will like this interview. All right, so let's go. What's up, Travis? Got you
Hey, man.
here.
You
How are you,
did.
man?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
No
It's
problem.
sometimes because I'm not really in like the podcasting space right now, I forget kind of like how you guys put a lot of work into this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to be just a guest, and so I appreciate the invite.
No problem, man. For people that don't know, I started my YouTube channel because of Travis. I started
I
watching.
didn't know.
You didn't know? Okay, so now you know.
Well, I knew
Um,
that like that was like a part of. I knew that was like at that time, and like you were part of that community, but I didn't really understand like the relationship there. That's
no,
cool.
yeah, I was part of the DevTips community and like the core part, like that small group. And I told them,
Yeah, you
look,
totally were.
I'm gonna start a YouTube channel because I love how Travis is doing it and is having fun. So I started, and I'm almost in 30K subscribers. So I think that's awesome, right?
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
feels
it's a great
feels good.
space to
Feels
be
good.
in. The audience of um, like the code learning is usually like fresh-minded people who want to excel and accelerate what they're doing in life. And
Yeah,
so you tend to just really meet and rub shoulders with just excellent, interesting, and exciting people all the time. And so I mean, just how I met you and that you do this kind of stuff. But like, I'm sure
yeah,
you're continuing to meet those type of people through your YouTube channel and podcast.
yeah. And I still talk to them. Like, we have our own community. We're still, in touch and asking questions to each other. So it's very cool. It's
So
very cool
cool.
to have the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they want to know more about you. I want to know more about you. So I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions. So I know that you recorded a bunch of videos when you started with the Google interviews and all that process, right? So I want to know how your life changed after you got hired by Google, like before Google and after Google. What's the difference?
Well, I think Google and the experience at Google. So I joined Search about 4 years ago, and then maybe in October of last year, so maybe around 6 months now, or a little bit more. I've been at YouTube Music. So it's been such a big journey because most of my career has been kind of like this, um, and enter through the back door kind of career where as I didn't go to college, I kind of didn't like really get like a computer science degree and do that stuff. So or design school or anything. So I'm constantly sitting in tables like with people who are smart. And then there's like me. So I think each stage of my career, like I did about a decade in startups, just hustling the whole time to get to where Google would be interested in hiring someone who had no accreditation or no like big school behind them or big university or whatever. So it took a long time, but I would say like the cauldron of startups is transformative and a little bit more available than a giant tech company to a lot of people. In fact, I have a lot of friends who are in Google right now as Googlers who are like, I think I just want that change. I just want that pace that's different. And so I don't think one is definitely going to be better than the other. And I certainly don't think that one should be a goal over the other. You will never be happy if you think that achieving a thing, then you'll be happy. That'll never work. So the difference is not necessarily am I happy now or am I better now or is life good, like not good and now good. There's no like switch to like how things work like that. It's just like what state am I operating in? What am I learning? What am I investing in now? And how is that different than what I was doing before I joined Google? So the question is, how has Google changed my perspective of what I want to invest myself in? Is really the question. And again, Google is a name that people kind of like know. Maybe you use it a lot or a little
Yeah.
or none, but you probably heard of it. And so there's this idea that like if I join a company that has already done something big, then I am something big. And that's really got to be thrown away. That's that that was actually soul crushing to me when I first joined Google because I had kind of like built this persona of me through, DevTips and my media persona, and also kind of like in my career as a designer, a lot of just like, I don't know, swag or design kind of just authority through competence. And when you're at small companies, that really works. You come in and go, da 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 da, this is how we're going to do it. I have a plan. Any questions? And it kind of just, people don't love that, but like you have a plan and not many other people are even there and very few of them have a plan. So your plan usually works or at least kind of goes further. But when you join a large organization, you're just another idiot with a plan. Because there are hundreds of idiots with plans. And that was kind of really, really sobering. I would say one of the biggest things that had to change with my thinking after I joined Google was my ego or my confidence or something. And ego is a thing that you never conquer. It's always in the back, just waiting for an opportunity to come back. But that was certainly something that I like was forced upon me. I did not choose to go through those lessons of learning that I'm not special, that I don't deserve everything that I get, because I was surrounded suddenly, instead of being like the best in the room, I was suddenly like not even close
Hmm.
very quickly. And so it was sobering and humbling. So what it taught me was like that I need to change my thinking about what are the requirements of success? How should I feel about what are the things I should use to measure how I should feel about myself? Because before that, I would measure how I felt about myself through the like design awards that I would get, or the paycheck, or the whatever, or the how many likes or subscriptions I got on my YouTube channel that week. And so, yes, I would say the biggest change was like being forced to find a different way to find value in myself because I couldn't like bulldoze my way through with just bold confidence and just a little bit of intuition anymore.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. So, right now, there's thousands of people trying to get a job at huge companies, right? Google, Amazon.
Yeah.
Those are the names, right? People are like, if I get
Yeah.
a job there, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I did it. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
that's a problem.
right, is a huge problem. I know.
Mhm.
For example, you told me about the startups. Like, if you're a designer, you can present something, and they're like, "Good, go ahead and do
Yeah.
that." Right. So that's happening to
Yeah.
me right now. I work for Orlando Magic, which is like an NBA team, and
Yeah.
it's very cool because I'm sure like I can do whatever I want. Like I can go to a meeting and say, "Look, I want to design the website in a different way," and they're like, "Good, go ahead." And it feels great. It feels very good. So I'm sure if I go to a huge company, they're gonna be like, "No, you're gonna design the button and make sure that button looks good, and that's it." So I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but you can let me know. But I'm sure I'm gonna
Yeah.
feel like that, right?
I would like to maybe talk a little bit about that the vision of being in a big company because I definitely get the idea of like, oh yeah, you join a big company, they're going to put you in a small box and you're going to have to do that one function and you can't break out of that box. But
Like,
when you're surrounded with like a different caliber, like you're looking at, like when I was just in a different place, like it required a different way of thinking about myself, like I explained earlier, but also about like how design works and how systems work and how engineering can be an exceptional tool of design. And it was like so much re-education because a lot of it was self-taught, as I said before, a lot of it was me trying to assemble a structure of, framework of thinking to understand the stimulus that I see. But it was self-assembled. And so coming into a structured, successful company, we're no longer a startup trying to like patch this thing together as we fly. It was like, we have a process. We know how to water the plants. We're good. Come help us grow and get faster and help more people. We're not trying to prove an idea. We're trying to systematize and grow and structuralize. I don't even know if that's a word. But that's a different like level, way of thinking. And so you start understanding that like design is not really about solving a problem or fixing a button or choosing a color or whatever. Design is more about enabling other opportunities down the line. It becomes something different entirely. And so when we say like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, like what kind of designer are you? And I sometimes I just don't know how to answer that because when I first started, I was like a graphic designer. Maybe I made T-shirts for the bands, and it's like I made album covers. So I was like graphic design. It was cool. I made brochures, magazine ads for like hotels and things, like restaurants, and that was like design, I think. And then I got into like web design, and then uh, like information architecture, which is maybe still design, and then UI design, and then interaction design, and then experience design. And now I'm in more like platform design and relationship design and opportunity design. And I'm like, I don't even know what I do anymore. So when I say that it requires a different level of thinking, I really do mean like I don't do the same thing I did 2 years ago or 5 years ago. I don't even know if I work in the same industry, although it's the same people.
I mean, still good, and I'm sure you learned a lot because right now, even like if I try to get a job as a UX design, they don't even know what UX means. They're like, oh, you have to design and animate things. I'm like, I don't think that's what UX means. Like people still very confused about it, like extremely confused.
Totally. Well,
So
it's confusing. As I just described, there's like hundreds of different niches and sections and specialties. And you say UX design. What is UX design? Well, literally, it means designing an experience.
right,
So who does that? The
yeah,
the maid who cleans your hotel room is a user experience designer. If she does her job right or if she does her job wrong, you're gonna have a good or a bad experience as a user of the hotel. So what is user experience design? What are we talking about? Drawing boxes, making buttons? Who are we speaking the same language here? I don't think so. This is not me and you. I'm talking about like when
yeah.
when we have this conversation out and when people say, "What do you do?" and "What is design?" I'm like, I don't know.
Oh man. Well, yeah. I mean, this can be like a whole day conversation. I'm sure.
Oh
Like
yeah,
we can
sorry.
talk.
I super
No, no,
ranty.
no,
What do we
no.
want to talk about?
I love it. No, I love it. Yeah, I have another question for you that I think is very, very important for people. So, everyone struggles at the beginning, right? Everyone is like,
Okay.
let's say you started as a designer, a graphic designer, and then you do another thing, and then you learn five things at the same time, and then you don't even know what you are or what you want to do. And then at some point you're so confused that you're like frustrated. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about that in your process? Like I'm sure you got, at some point you got confused because it happened the same thing to me. Right now, I'm learning 3D modeling and video game design. And I'm a web developer and designer. I'm doing that. I'm doing my YouTube channel. At some point, my
Yeah.
mind is going to be like, what the heck are you doing? Right?
Okay. Yes. So number one is I think all of it informs all of it. Like I'm at my desk right here. I have a beatbox. I'm making beats
Yep.
this morning, and my alarm went off. Oh, it's time for a podcast about code. But the things that I'm thinking about right now, the rhythms, the beats, the counts, the measures, the not just like the math of it, but like what does a song mean to move someone through the beginning, the middle, and an end of an emotive moment, a story. And like it's all. Let me show you this thing. This one's really cool. Like my cable's long enough.
Oh wow.
This box. This is the next thing I'm working on. So I don't think that you have to. Okay, enough show and tell. Oh, by the way, no, not done show and tell. What that is that's all for my new YouTube channel, which is called Little Music Boxes.
I'm
So
following
I
you.
took a break. Yeah, thanks, man. I took a
Yep.
break from code because I really coming back to your question of how do you decide what to specialize in. I had discovered that I had specialized, and it happened accidentally. And it scared me. It really did. It frightened me. It frightened me so much that I quit being a YouTuber. And there's a lot of other things going, like so many other things, like emotional, personal crisis going on at that time. But one of the components was that I learned suddenly that I had narrowed myself. So immediately I stopped coding and started painting. And I did that for 6 months, and then I started making music again. And now I feel great about coding again. And now I feel much more like myself. So here's the thing about all of that. I'm going to bring it all back. I'm going to bring it all back. Number one, if you have an interest in something, that means you're a person. And you should always be a person before you're a tool for a company. That's it. So if you're interested in video games, if you're interested in 3D design, if you're interested in poetry or knitting, and somebody says, you're not going to get a good career with that, you really need to start optimizing your Python scripts or some shit. You just got to go like, what am I optimizing my life for? I have 80 years. Am I optimizing my 80 years so that I can write really great code so that I can give my time efficiently to a company so that I can trade my time for money? Or am I optimizing my ability to write Python scripts so I can create beautiful, wonderful art that enables people to accelerate their lives to the next stage of what they want, whatever that is, right? So like, for example, my job at Google search for a long time was working with crisis response. So fires, floods, right now, COVID is just a huge issue, and public health is so important to think about in times of tragedy. But a lot of times the thinking about those things needs to happen in the front. And it can be like a heavy kind of thing to weigh. I would visit communities that had been burned to the ground or flooded out, and talk to people who were left with nothing, and ask them like, well, what information would have been helpful at that time? Because I want to help people who are going to come through this. And so that was like like some research that we were doing, but that weight kind of bears down at you. I did crisis response for 3 years, and it was like heavy. And so I needed art, I needed painting and music, and I needed conversations and laughter and just something to break that and enable me to push that forward little bit by little bit, so that the next person who encountered a wildfire or a flood or a tsunami would have a little bit more correct and usable information. That user experience would be a little bit better because I made some music.
That's great, man. I mean, I love them. Sometimes I go to that YouTube channel just to relax because like
Oh,
the type of music you're making with the sounds and all that is actually really good for relaxing and your mind. And there's something special about it. So I just wanted to tell you that you're doing awesome. So
Thank
keep
you.
doing it.
I really
But
appreciate it. But let me can I take 1 minute and then just give some hard advice for what you asked for me? I know that I can do this a lot, but like, let me get some
yeah, no
hard
worries.
advice. I would think of it like you're thinking about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So, like, let's say you're going to get married at some point. It's really, really hard to get out of a marriage. It's very, very easy to change your career. Okay. So, the amount of thought you put into marrying someone, I've been married for almost 15 years now. I knew her for 6 months before I proposed. It's ridiculous that I did that. That was so stupid. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, it's good.
Most people, if they make decisions that are like, oh, I need to specialize with this person, like I'm going to date this person in high school and end up with them, they don't know what the world is like out there, what other opportunities are there. And I'm going to tell my children this: date everybody, date as many people, date idiots, date smart people, date kind people, date an asshole every now and then, just so you know that you don't like assholes, or you
Yeah,
do, and then you find out something about yourself, whatever. But what I'm saying is, like, try interaction design, try coding in different languages, try different frameworks, try it all, so you have a familiarity with what you love and don't love. And then when somebody comes to you and waving their cash and they're saying, hey, join my big company, I'll give you $1 million, you can say, like, well, is it something I love or don't love? And you know already, That's my advice.
amazing, man. By the way, I saw the video of you talking to your children, like in the future, right? That was crazy. It was amazing. I was even imagining like your kids watching it when they're like 20 years old.
It's
It's
crazy
amazing.
because they're going to be adults one day.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
over in the other room, like, watching cartoons. They're going to have this conversation with another adult
yeah,
talking about, it's going to be, what? You're a kid. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. All right, I have one last question.
Okay,
What do you
I'll be
do?
concise.
All right, what do you do when you feel down, or you're procrastinating, or you feel like you don't want to do anything? You're like, you know what? I don't want to record any video. I don't want to make music. I don't want to, like, what do you do to like motivate yourself?
Okay, I have two. I have one quick tip and then a story if you want to hear it. How much time do we have?
Yeah, we
Okay,
have all the
cool.
time you want. Yeah.
All right. So this is I keep a set of cards on my desk that I got as a gift. But this card, I was the first card I ever took out of it. It's like motivation cards or something, or like, what is it called? Anyway, orthogonal thinking, Brian
Okay.
Eno. Anyway, so it's like a different version of that. Hey, it's the first card I've ever pulled out of it, and it says chip away at it.
There you go.
And I just keep I never found the need to look at a different one. In fact, I think I'm just going to pin this to the wall right behind the monitor, because really I think that's the only way that anything gets ever done. You just slowly sit down and you chip away at it. And you don't expect a great experience. You don't expect a breakthrough today. You just chip away at it. Okay, so I have a story now. That was my advice. There's my story.
Okay.
I think another way to help yourself and stay motivated is to make sure you have good thinking. And good thinking means that you reward yourself with the right stimulus. In other words, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want praise? Are you doing this because you want money? Are you doing this because you care about the problem you're trying to solve? What is it? I think ultimately we do the things that we care about. Like, I know that you can, like, really pressure somebody into doing something, and I know that there's like a lot of ways to, like, mind control people and brainwash, but like, I think ultimately you're just, in normal circumstances, you're just not going to do the things you don't want to do. You're just not. And there's going to be a breaking point where there's going to be, you're like, okay, the cost of not doing this thing is now higher than the cost of doing it. And so now it becomes a thing that I genuinely want to do. But at any given point, you're doing exactly what you want to do. If I wanted to be somewhere else right now, I would hang up absolutely and go do it. But I want to be here. And so ultimately I'm doing it. So one of the things is to like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to push yourself? What is the reward? And now here's the story. So when I quit YouTubing and quit podcasting, I was never stopping, never stopping. I was always a creator. So one of the things I did internally at work in Google Search is I made a podcast. I interviewed 8 of my peers. It was kind of fun. After each interview, I said, okay, who should I interview next? And then they kind of nominated the next person, and they were like, 30-minute things, and I cut them down to like a punchy 10. Like it was like, because I knew the audience was the people around me, and they don't have a lot of time. And I was just like, I want this to be for them, so I'm going to cut out the punchiest stuff, the most relevant stuff, and they're going to be great. I had 8 interviews. They're dialed in. This website was amazing. It had this animation. I can't show it because it's all proprietary internal stuff, but it had this animation where there's 8 tiles, and then if you hover over one of them to click on the podcast, the other, it wouldn't move. The others would just kind of move away from it and fade out. And it was like this, when you scroll around the grid, it was just like this kind of like pulsing. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that. I was so proud of it. It was so cool. When I released it to my team, which was about 600 people, there was like there was an announcement email, and it went to the whole organization, which is more than that. But then we had like a party with like mixer, and like I had a panel, and I interviewed the people who I didn't try to just make it and leave it. I wanted to launch it. I really put everything I could. I made a trailer for the series of podcast episodes. I recorded it in video, and I was like, hey, this is what it's about. This is what I did. This is what I did it for. I hope you enjoy it. Good job. And the trailer was fun. I had like a glass of whiskey. It was like to my peers. I was like, hey guys, I did this for you. Like, I'm trying to build this community. I want to hear those personal stories that really make us a part of who we are. I had this like, it was going to be great. Because I was just coming off of DevTips, right? I was a community builder. I had built a community of 300,000 people. Or that's not a community. I had built a subscriber base in a community that you were like, you know how I am. When I love you guys. I love people who want to be loved. Yeah, and so fast forward, really good. Fast forward to yesterday, I got an email. Google's doing some like internal, housekeeping or whatever, and it was like, if you don't like read label something on this server wherever you hosted the thing, it's gonna be deleted if you don't take action. Okay, so I go in and I'm looking at it, and I'm just having a little nostalgia. This is yesterday morning, Friday morning. I'm supposed to be working, looking at my old work and being like, yeah, that's great. And then I click on that trailer. And then it's like, it comes up in a modal, and I'm like, oh, I want to see the big one. So I click in the YouTube. So it's like, it's a private YouTube video, but it was in a thing. And then I noticed the view count is 0.
There you go.
No views. And it was deflating. It was so sad. It was so sad. And the reason I think it was so sad is because the way that I was judging success was on reception, response, feedback, acceptance, approval. So I was really upset. I was upset by that, and I was upset by my thinking, and I didn't know how to get out of it because I'm in this little room. It's like before the lockdown, it was like my son's bedroom. Now he's like sharing the room, and we're in this situation. We've got a lot of other stress as well. I had to work stress, and then this, and I was like, I couldn't handle it. So I went for a walk. I was like, I'm out, I'm done. Left. I canceled a meeting. I went for a walk, and I'm walking around, and I'm avoiding people on the streets, like keeping my social distance. And I thought to myself, like, I was built for social distance, man. I love avoiding people. So I'm out there, and I'm thinking, like, how do I correct myself? And so I tried to dissect what my thinking was. Okay, what are the inputs and outputs of this equation? Well, the inputs were time and energy that I invested into that podcast. It was about 8 months of work, but plus also like the weight of having another project that's your own that you can't get to right now. You know how that feeling is. That's a burden. It's a burden. And so 8 months of that, plus like trying to launch, getting people, scheduling and editing things you don't want to edit, and just all that work, which you know how it is. Those are the inputs. And then what's the outputs? So I was hoping that the outputs would be acceptance, as I explained before. But the outputs, when I was able to correct my thinking, the outputs were this. Number one, I spent time doing things that I was interested in and excited about. As I explained before, we don't do things that we don't want to do. I was doing things electively that I wanted to do. I was not renting my time to a company to create a code base for them in exchange for money. I was making something that was interesting. Those interviews were good. They were good. And when I looked at those outputs, and I said to myself, well, if I do believe that the journey is what's important, not the arrival, the destination. So when I say to somebody, you should not try to get a job at Google because you'll ultimately be disappointed even if you get it. So I'm thinking I need to make my outputs, the valued outputs, be the journey. And so if I say I did have a good time, and ultimately the people who were involved intimately with that project gained a lot. They did. They knew me for 30 minutes. We communed, and that's beautiful. And as I kind of tuned my thinking, I started really to be happy again and be motivated for the next thing. And so that's a long answer to your question again, but I think that, I think chip away at it, keep going, and make sure your thinking is correct. Because if you're motivated by the wrong things, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be, and it's going to be hard.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people are in the same boat. A lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's true. Like it's the process. Enjoy the process. We all struggle. Even the top, even the boss of your boss, like they struggle. If you're in that situation right now, don't worry, you're not alone. We are a
Yeah.
lot. We're struggling and still in the journey of getting there. I think at the end of the day, you need to be happy, right? You need to like pursue happiness. I think that's the goal of life.
Yeah.
That's my own, that's what I believe.
I think that's a correct output. Like if you value that, then your inputs will be motivated toward it. You'll
Right.
invest in family, you'll invest in relationships, you'll invest in this type of thing, which is not sitting in a corner making money. It's communicating with somebody and sharing ideas.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Travis. Thank you so much for being here. There you go. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for everything you did for me and for a lot of people. We say thank you. I'm saying thank you on their behalf, on the DevTips community, the music community, the creative community, because we are all creative. I think that's what I do. I just create, right? It doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, we are creators, and that's what we love. That's our passion, and if we need to do 10 different things to create, we're gonna do it, and I don't think
Yeah.
we're gonna stop. We're not gonna stop, right?
Right. Yeah. Right now I'm gonna go cook a breakfast and I'm gonna make it a piece of art, because I'm gonna be in there for the journey. I'm not gonna be there for the output. If I'm
Yeah,
there for the output, I'm just gonna eat it over the sink and be done with it. I'll have a good life.
that's how it is. All right. Thank you, Travis. Stay safe. Keep your family safe. I know we are not in this craziness, but just stay safe. Enjoy your life. Be happy. Thank you so much. Have a good day, okay?
Thanks for doing this, man. All right.
Thank you. See ya. I hope you liked this video, and I want to say thank you, Travis, for your time. It was amazing. All right, so I will see you next time. Let me know in the comments if you want me to interview someone else or it can be you. See ya.